Many of us remember, don't we, when, of course, we saw our late and brilliant Queen, Queen Elizabeth II, shed a tear. I know, a big thing that, wasn't it? Let's not forget, chums. And that was, of course, at the sad demise of the Royal Yacht Britannia. Something apparently that she truly enjoyed travelling on, felt very much a home from home. I've been on it, by the way. It's an incredible vessel when you think. And you do forget that you're on water. It was so palatial, but rightly so. You know, this was the royal way of travelling around. And I thought very sustainable when you think about it, you know, less harmful than flying, but once again, hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? The previous British Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Boris Johnson, did his very best during his time to try and get that reinstated. He wanted to bring everything back that was British branded and thought this was a great sort of, you know, thing for the world, and rightly so. Many people agreed with him. So it's good news on this particular front regarding something that many have already tried to literally take off the rails. Let me explain. Morning, good to see you. Thank you so much for your time. By the way, I'm glad you enjoyed the Frankie Vaughan, Marilyn and the King story. It was a wonderful story to do for you, so I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, fascinating stuff. And as I say, when you meet people that were there, it's always better, I think, to get the stories from them, because they remember things that, you know, when you're writing a biography or a story, they don't necessarily get out there, do they? You know what I mean? They're lost in the sort of world. And Frankie, what a superstar he was, all the way from Liverpool, but got a great break at the City Varieties Theatre in Leeds. Oh yes. And of course, just a wonderful star. Could do everything, couldn't he? You knew it was going to be an elegant night when Frankie Vaughan and his top hat, silver cane, came on and sang Give Me the Moonlight, right, ladies? Absolutely. Who remembers Green Door, Tower of Strength? All of those wonderful films and songs, just great. It's a bit like this, of course, our wonderful, you know, King Charles III. As you can imagine, he's inheriting quite a few things. And some of the things, you know, are good, and obviously some of them are not. But this one in particular, I think, is incredibly nice because it's the Royal Train. Now, the Royal Train, of course, really took off, all thanks to the burgeoning railways of the 1800s. And once Queen Victoria found that this was a way round to get it about very easily, she loved it. And if you've not seen it, the interior of Queen Victoria's carriages, wonderful. Talk about palatial. I mean, you know, you just kind of think, and in that era too, no expense would have been spared. Proper chairs in the carriage, full weight. Can you imagine? Incredible when you think. Now, of course, the Royal Train is still careering ahead, and thankfully will remain so for at least the next few years. That's because, all thanks to King Charles, he will be retaining the Royal Train, and more importantly, which is a bit sad, I don't know if you agree on this, but his cipher will now replace that of Queen Elizabeth on both of the trains that they're going to be redoing, as it were. I don't know about you, when everything's removed from Queen Elizabeth, I get a little bit sad, because it's a piece of history, isn't it? That's going, do you know what I mean? And it's not coming back, and that's the thing, isn't it? But of course, you know, if it means it carrying on, that's a good thing. And the other side of it is, of course, it is sustainable, and in this climate world that we're all living in, I think it's a great way of getting around. A lot of people knock it and say it's very expensive, but it's certainly not as expensive as taking flights. But as you know, that seemingly is for the rich and famous, or otherwise known as Harry and Meghan, telling you shouldn't be flying, but all the while they're on private jets like you and I are popping on the number 3. You get the picture. So let's say a big hurrah for the fact that, of course, the Royal Train will remain on the rails for the foreseeable future, albeit with a brand new cipher. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.